The following podcast is an enticing media production.
Where the Nell have you been? Join us for conversation about life, business, and everything in between. Welcome to What the Nell, where we've got stories to tell. Here's your host, Nell Tice.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another brand new episode of the What the Nell podcast with yours truly, Nell Tice. I don't know if you've sensed a theme here yet or not, but we are in the midst of a Central Pennsylvania small business series, and I have another awesome Central PA business owner with me today by the name of Jasmine Perfect. She is a graphic designer, an artist, and a mom. She runs Jasmine Perfect Creative, where she helps small businesses tackle marketing in a creative and design-forward way. She also teaches art classes at Creative York. Jasmine, welcome to the What the Nell podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me on. I'm so excited. This is my first podcast.
Wait, what? This is your
Yeah.
first podcast?
Yeah.
That's amazing. I don't remember if we talked about that or not.
It's like your what, 1 millionth or something?
Oh gosh, some
Yeah.
days it feels like 1 millionth, but I don't know. By this time it might be like 115. I've definitely been a guest on other episodes too
Okay.
for other podcasts. So I don't know, maybe in the realm of like 175, but I mean, that's nothing compared to like Joe Rogan or something, you
Oh,
know?
yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the introduction. I think that was a perfect explanation of what I do.
Awesome. Good. Cool. Well, I think that you're super talented, super creative, and people need to know more about who you are, how you got here, and what you're doing today. So, why don't you explain a little bit about your journey to start us off?
Yeah, so I graduated from York College. I double majored in graphic design and fine art. I was tied to both and I couldn't
Gosh.
let either one go. So I just said, let's do the extra student loan payment and do both. But it ended up working out really well because here I am after working in the corporate world for a long time. I'm able to include that fine art degree. I'm able to do projects. Last year we created crosswalks for downtown York City.
Oh my
We
gosh.
designed crosswalks on the rail trail. And I got this gig at Creative York, which is teaching teens. We have a thing called Teen Art House where it's completely free for the teens. They just have to sign up.
Oh, that's super
I
cool.
also do some workshops for adults too. That's kind of like my little passion work. Most of my income comes from my clients, my great small business clients, small businesses in Central PA who you're interviewing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like my bread and butter. And I lead with design. I'm a graphic designer first. I just happen to have worked in marketing on a team. So I picked up a lot of things. And I
Awesome.
noticed that a small business isn't probably not going to hire a graphic designer. They need you to be able to do a lot of other little things,
For
which I
sure.
can. So, I try to offer some packages that are affordable. And it's been great. It's been great so far.
Good. That's awesome. I love that you're working with small businesses. And yeah, I mean, big corporate companies have marketing teams and things like that. But what led you to working with small businesses rather than going after the quote unquote high ticket clients?
I just always enjoyed it. I've always done freelance, so I knew how to work with small businesses and I kind of knew what they needed. My very first kind of steady gig out of college was for a very small business. I was one of four people. Shout out to The Pleasure of Your Company. They were a stationery store down in near Baltimore, and I learned a lot from them. And I really did love working for them, but I ended up moving on from them to a larger corporation just for a better opportunity. And it was hard for me to leave that little stationery store.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I did love it, and but I also learned a lot working for a big corporation. It was definitely worth it, even though it ended up not being what I wanted in the long run. I'm definitely grateful to have that part of my journey, but I always loved working for a small business or with small businesses. One
Mhm.
thing I love about working with small businesses is that you feel like your work is actually doing something.
Oh,
Whereas,
yes.
yeah, if you're in a big corporation, it's like, who am I helping really? But for a small business, you might be helping your small business owner pay for their kids' summer camp, or, with
Sure.
your ads that you're doing, if you get them more clients and get them more customers,
Yeah.
and they're just more like me. They're doing the same thing I'm doing. So we can just really relate, and we're on the same page, I feel like.
Yeah, that's such a key component to working with small businesses because that's who we as a company work with too. It's really great to relate and you form these relationships out of that because it's really cool if they always say don't become friends with your clients or like vice versa. But it's really cool, especially if you live in the same community space and you get to see their kids in the soccer field and or you run into them at the grocery store and you're in the same boat. You're trying to survive, you're trying to make it and be successful, whatever that looks like for you. But it's just this really cool connection that you create. Whereas if you're working for a giant corporate company, I mean, you literally are helping them just get like another lounger for their yacht, you know? So there's something to
Yep.
be said for just being able to help another small business make it that much closer to their goals.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's totally a two-way street,
Yeah.
because they're helping me,
Yeah.
they're doing the same thing for me. They're helping me send my kid to summer camp too, so
Yeah.
it's just better. I just love it. It's
Oh, that's
stressful.
awesome. Oh, yeah. No, it's not stressful, that's for sure.
It definitely feels like there's more on the line. I don't wanna screw up anything with my small business. At my corporate job, if you make a little mistake, it's okay. We got a big budget. It's not a big deal. We'll reprint those. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Right.
but
No, I
yeah,
totally hear you. One thing that I wanted to really touch on was you were building this business while you were working 9 to 5 job. So can you kind of take us through that journey a little bit? What was that like for you?
sure. I have always freelanced. Just when you're a graphic designer, there's always going to be people that ask, can you get me a logo? And usually you say yes. So I wasn't ever officially a business until maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. I just always kind of took on extra work. But I got to a point where I was always working. I would work 8 to 9 hours a day at my job, and then I would come home and get right back on the computer. And it was just not good. Like for anybody's mental health. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people listening have been there before,
Yeah.
and I had actually quit freelancing a couple times just because, you have to have a life, and have a
Sure.
family and relationships. So I was about to quit again because it was coming to be too much. And I would sit down in my computer and I said, I hate freelancing. But then I
Yeah.
really thought about it and I was like, would I hate it if I didn't have to work all day right before I started freelancing? And it was like a light bulb. I'm like, I've never actually tried to do this full time. I've never actually tried it.
Mhm.
So I made the decision to set a goal. I said, I've never had a 5-year plan, but I said, in 5 years, I want to be working for myself. And I said, I am not a freelancer, I'm a business.
Yes.
And that was key because once I said I'm a business, I said, okay, let me do some Google searches and figure out what kinds of opportunities, what kinds of, what would you say, resources are
Mhm.
in my local community in York County, York City. Tons.
Yeah.
It like changed the game for me. I, got in touch with the people at Keystone Merge. I was able to present my business there, and it was my first time speaking about my business, and it changed my mindset and got me thinking about my business seriously because that's what kind of held me back. I would say, yeah, it would be nice to freelance full time, one day. But once I said, I'm going to do this, I'm a business, I'm good at what I do. My clients recommend me. It was about me. It's a lot of like inner work.
For
But
sure. Yeah.
yeah, and so I started networking. I got a score mentor who was great. I still meet with him. He's more like very like building your business plan, stuff
Yeah.
that creative people don't like to think about. So he keeps me in check there. And I got a grant and I applied for a grant and I got it. And
That's
I was like,
amazing.
these people that are giving me this money, they believe in me. So I should believe in me.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. That's amazing.
And that all this happened last year.
Wow.
Yeah. So it changed pretty drastically. And I said I need to work on getting more clients. And I got some more clients and I came up with some packages just so that I couldn't advertise more. I started just looking for opportunities everywhere. And I know that's not easy to do when you're working a full-time job. And like there's definitely times in my life where I wouldn't have been able to do it just based on, what
Yeah.
was going on up here.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. My gosh, that's such
So
a huge part of it.
yeah. Yeah. So just like right headspace at the right time, taking yourself seriously, having confidence, it's not easy stuff. It's not
No.
at all. And
No.
so, but I feel like once you do it and it clicks, if you just keep going, things start falling into place if you're good at what you do.
Mhm.
So it's amazing. It's a whole new world. I'm so grateful and so happy and it's
Oh,
just been
that's
awesome.
amazing. Oh, that's so cool. I'm so happy we're doing video now on this podcast because I feel like when you say that, you can see the passion in your face for what you're doing and how much you love it. And that's really super cool. And
Hmm.
I'm wondering, so in my first full year of doing what I'm doing now, I definitely got that like serial entrepreneur bug where another business opportunity was presented to me and I was like, yes, cool. Now that I'm doing this, I feel like I've jumped over this major hurdle. I want to own all of the businesses. I want to start this. I want to do that. Have you been bitten by that bug yet?
Not really. I'm not a risk taker at all. I'm not. So that's another thing that's been really hard for me, but I do in the sense that I don't want to be one thing.
Mhm.
Like I kind of want to do everything in the creative space. I want to be an
Yes.
artist. I want to now that I started working with high schoolers a lot, I'm having a lot of fun with that.
That's great.
Maybe I'll do more teaching. Maybe in 5 years I'll just be a teacher. I don't know. So, I don't want to start a bunch of different businesses, but I want to do a lot of things in my
Yeah.
business.
I love that. I was going to recommend that if you do want to start a bunch of businesses, maybe get the one solidified first and
Yeah.
get really awesome at that. Let that automate itself and then maybe jump into to more. I am definitely a risk taker, so I jumped in way too soon to that opportunity and I learned my lesson through that, which is great because anytime that we experience what we call failure, it's not actually failing. It's just literally learning your lesson and moving on and knowing how to deal with similar situations in the future. But what do you think has been the most challenging part of transitioning from corporate life to full time entrepreneurship?
Huh, that's a good question. Well, so I'll backtrack a little bit. I said I'm not a risk taker. Okay. I do have some advice as far as starting a business or starting freelancing while you're working full time.
Mhm.
This is a cautionary tale. Be very quiet about your business because I was let go of my corporate job in December, and the part of the reason I was let go was because of my business. I'm an open and
Mm.
transparent person. I think I'm working hard. I'm doing some great work. My coworkers enjoy working with me. I'm nothing to worry about. And I would tell everybody, which is what you want to do in a business, when you want
Sure.
everybody to know about your business. So
Mhm.
the right way to do it is to stay quiet and keep it on the down low and build clients quietly and build up your savings so that you can jump. I was kicked out.
Oh my gosh.
But that's exactly what I needed because
Yeah.
I'm not a risk taker and I needed that push. and it was extremely scary. I was lucky enough that I did have some savings to fall back on, and I had some clients because I had been really working hard on building, and I already had the thing lined up with Creative York, and I needed that, and it's opened me up to so much more because then I started to applying at, I applied at a random part-time marketing gig, and it instead of it being a part-time gig, it turned into a contract
Wow.
through my business. And
Yeah.
so, through that, I got more business. And another kind of working with high schoolers. I'm mentoring high schoolers on a digital marketing campaign for
Oh,
targeting fighting against teen violence.
oh wow.
So, very important work, and it's very fulfilling. But I would have never thought to do that before.
Yeah.
If I was working full time, I would never apply for a part time job because that would be way too much. But I had the space, I needed the extra income, and I applied, and we have a great contract going. So
Good.
it's the hardest part. To go back to your question, I told you I was going to ramble. To go back to your question, the hardest part definitely was being forced to make that decision and not being in
Yeah.
control of making that decision. That was the
Ooh.
hardest part
Yeah, yeah.
for me.
That's amazing. I do remember that in our initial meeting that you had told me that. And I keep saying this. This is probably like the third podcast in a row that I've said this. If you don't believe in the universe or faith or whatever it is that you believe in, become an entrepreneur. You will become a believer in something because it is really interesting. And you mentioned how things just fall into place. And
Yeah.
you needed that push, and it is almost like something was saying to you like, this is what you're meant for, and so we're just going to make this happen for you. But
Mhm.
that doesn't make it any less scary. And
No.
yeah, that's amazing, and thank you for being open and
Yeah.
vulnerable about that. I mean, it's not an easy thing, especially to go out there and say, "Hey, I was let go." And so I applaud you for that for sure. But I mean, challenges are one thing, but doing this is so extremely rewarding too. So in your experience, which is very fresh, what has been the most rewarding thing thus far that you've experienced?
It's hard to pinpoint it to one thing. What I'm
Yeah.
working in now with my contract with working with the teens and in public safety and in the community, that has become really rewarding because I went from designing for corporate entities. We were just trying to make sales, we were just putting out promos. While
Mhm.
some of the work was fun and I could be creative, it was not meaningful. And
Yeah.
part of the reason why I wanted to, first of all, get out of that company and get out of that job was because I was, kind of having I don't want to say crisis, but like in my heart, I'm like, I could be doing something that means so much more and more fulfilling and actually doing something that matters.
Yeah.
And in marketing, it's easy to just fall into a place where you're just, if I have friends that work in like for an insurance company, and it's
Mhm.
like you just need a job. Everybody
Yeah.
just needs to make money. So, you're grateful to have a job doing something that you're trained in,
Yeah.
that you got your degree in, that you spent money for a degree in. So it's like, yes, you have a good job, but like it can easily become really unfulfilling. So that has been really rewarding, even working with, like we talked about before, working with my small business clients is extremely rewarding.
Yeah.
I've listened to some of your other podcasts, and you talk a lot about when you worked at corporate, it can be like very toxic. There tend to be a lot of narcissists.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It it's hard. So, I can count on less than one hand, probably like 3 times that my superiors told me I was doing a good job.
Oh, wow.
So, and, my clients, even my new clients, my clients who I've had for 5 plus years, I hear all the time, "I appreciate you. This is amazing. You're doing such a good job." I was just on a
Awesome.
call before this, and she was singing my praises, and, like, it almost made me uncomfortable. I'm like, "Are
Yes.
you sure? Are you sure I'm good?"
Really? You
I'm
think
like,
so?
yeah, like, and then I'm like, "Okay, why would she lie to my face?" So, that has been really rewarding to just
Yeah.
self-confidence boost and realizing that you are good at what you do. I have over a decade of experience. I know what
Mhm.
I'm doing. I have confidence.
Yeah.
And the thing about being a contractor or somebody hiring out for you as opposed to being a W-2 employee is that they look at you as an expert.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're a W-2 employee, maybe they're really excited about you when they first hire you, but after a while, you're just a subordinate.
Totally agree.
Yeah, so it's just a totally different relationship, totally different dynamic.
Mhm.
It's like I'm gonna say this a whole bunch of times. It's just a whole different world.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
cool.
It is. It's so cool. I love that you said that because I have always felt that as a W-2 employee, you're right. The employer might be really excited about you, bringing you on board, and everything's great. And then all of a sudden, you just fall into routine and habits, and you become whatever level you are in that company, right? There's always going to be the hierarchies and the chain of commands and things like that. Whereas as a contractor with your own business, you become very much on an equal playing field because you have every right to choose who you work with, just like they do. And
Mhm.
you don't have that flexibility as a W-2 employee. So
Mm-mm.
it's
Yep.
amazing to be able to say, as an entrepreneur, you know what? I had a couple of calls with this person and I just don't think that our values align and I don't want to work with them.
Yeah.
And that's an amazing thing too. And so rewarding because you literally, every piece of your life, your business life, you can curate yourself,
Mhm.
which is
Yeah,
amazing. So I love
exactly.
that.
Yeah, I am very fortunate that all my clients I really vibe with and I love them and I
Yeah.
love all the work that I'm doing right now. But I'm still at the point where if you want to hire me, please hire me. I'm not
Yes.
gonna
Oh,
judge
yeah.
too much. But I'm excited to get to that point where I can really pick and choose the exact work I want to get to. And I know I'll get to that point.
Oh, you will. 100% you will. It's a stage and things that every entrepreneur goes through, I think. And, being able to get to that point, even for me, was very like, okay, now I feel like I've made it. Because I feel like as you become more successful, there are more choices for you to make. And you don't necessarily have to take something on just because it's like, oh, I really need the money, or I really feel obligated because this person was sent to me by this person, or this person's a friend of so and so. You become more comfortable with the boundaries that you realize you
Mhm.
need to set for yourself. And that will also be really rewarding. So I'm excited for you to get there.
I am too, I'm too, but I also have a really hard time saying no, so
Mm.
that'll be a learning experience as well.
Yeah, yeah, and something inevitably will come along that will force you into
Mhm.
learning how to say no. And you won't see it at the time, but it will end up being a gift.
Yeah,
It really will.
yeah.
So, this has been an amazing conversation. I know the tradition here at the What the No podcast, towards the end of each episode, we like to ask our guests, do you have a What the No story to share for us? Something quirky, something, it doesn't have to be about the topic at hand, but something like crazy that happened to you that leaves the listener thinking, what the no just happened here?
So, it's not, like, super interesting, but I grew up in,
Everybody
San
says
Die
that, by the way, before the most interesting ones, just an FYI.
I know I have a better one than this, I know I do. Um, but I grew up in San Diego County, California,
Oh,
so
nice.
I spent my summers surfing, I went to surf camp, and the last time I surfed, I was 18 years old, it was right before I moved here, I've been here since I was 18 in York, PA.
Oh my
I got
gosh.
stung by a stingray on my
Oh.
foot, not like Steve Irwin style, but on my foot. I know, it's funny, but not funny.
I know, right? I feel terrible.
But I got stung on my foot, and then I moved, and I never surfed again. But I wanna take, another surfing lesson since it's been a lot of years since then. That's one
Yeah.
of my goals is to get back in the ocean again, start
Oh my
surfing.
gosh, that's amazing. You will definitely get there. But I have to ask, growing up in San Diego, why York?
So actually, my significant other, we're still together. We met there. His dad has always lived in several parts of California, and we met here. And then, I was graduating high school and ready to kind of, just be a butterfly on my own. And I met this great guy, and we took a chance and moved out here because he's from here. His whole
Okay.
family lives here, and his mom and stuff. And
Yeah.
I applied to York College, and I got in, and the rest is history. We were only going to spend 2 years here, and it's been over 15. I don't
Oh my
remember the exact
gosh.
number, but it's been a while. I love York. Positives and negatives. People think you're from California. Why would you ever move away from there? Fact of the matter is, it's just expensive and it's hard to buy a home. And, that's not to say we may go back one day. We talk about it sometimes. I love it there. A lot of my family is still there. I try to visit as much as I can, but
Oh,
yeah, I
that's
love
cool.
York City. I love it here. We have a great life.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I do definitely kind of reside with the people that are like, why would you ever leave? But no, I get it. It's so incredibly expensive out there. And my
Hmm.
best friend's husband, he's from San Diego, and he's
Okay.
like, yeah, it's like unbelievable being able to afford to live out there. And
Yeah.
I just recently, well, not last year, but the year before, I think, visited San Diego for the first time. I'd been to
Oh,
other
cool.
areas, but my favorite place was, I think it was Ocean Beach,
Uh-huh.
was my absolute favorite. What a vibe. First of
Yeah.
all, it was amazing. And I mean, other place, La Jolla was absolutely
Oh
beautiful.
my gosh.
The
Yeah.
food, insane. And the weather, of course, absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, what a
Yeah.
beautiful area of the country.
I love it there. And I had being a teenager there was just I had the time of my life. It was awesome. I was more inland. San Diego County is very big, so
Oh,
I was probably like 40 minutes from the beach.
okay.
But even when you're very inland, it's still very expensive. Several of my friends, they live with their parents because it's
Yeah.
you know that they work hard and they have children, some of them, but it's so hard and it doesn't even make sense to buy. So
Yeah.
yeah, it sucks, and I wish California would do something about it because I that's my home. I love it there. But yeah, I love it. Mexican food, the best sushi, best weather, best
Yeah.
vibes. It's great.
Best
So
everything. I love it. Well, Jasmine, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us on this episode today. But tell everybody how they can connect with you. Where can they find you?
Instagram, Jasmine Perfect Creative on Instagram. My website is jasmineperfect.com. I'm also on Facebook. But yeah, I'm out there. Just Google Jasmine Perfect Creative and you can find all my
Awesome.
stuff.
Love it. Love it. And of course, all of that info will be in the show notes as well. So, Jasmine, thank you so much for coming on today and really appreciate it. And really appreciate all of you for listening. As you know, we are doing video now on What the Nell. So head on over to YouTube. If you're not watching the video, subscribe to the channel, like this video and the other ones too. But wherever you're listening, subscribe to the podcast, leave us a review. That's how we grow here. And as always, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you on the next one.
To learn more about how to tell your story, connect with Nell at enticingmedia.com. That's ENTICEING media.com. Thanks for listening to the What the Nell podcast.